Hey everyone, it's me, Timothy Curry again, and this is my week 4 speech, my informative speech. And what I'll be informing you about is how international events can affect the logistics of the world, and which in turn can affect local communities like mine and yours. To start off, one of the biggest things that can affect this cycle or process is war. And I don't know if any of you have been keeping up to date, but one of the wars that is happening right now in our time that we're seeing live is the war in Ukraine, which is having negative effects all around the world. Ukraine is a big producer of wheat and other grains and they export a lot of this to Central Europe and Western Europe, and they in turn can see food shortages, just as the one that Joe Biden announced that could happen in the coming months, which in turn would not only affect local communities in Europe, but could in turn affect communities here at home, including mine and yours. Another example of how war can affect the global logistics is back in World War II, when Japan began its imperialism across the Pacific. Is they highly depended on American oil, which the Americans eventually cut off due to Japan's aggressiveness, and due to us doing that, it led to the attack on Pearl Harbor and war, and it caused a shortage of that as well. And this has been a common theme whenever war arises. It just doesn't affect the countries that are involved in the war, but it affects all the countries around the world logistically, and in turn can lead to hard times in everyone's community. The second main thing that can affect logistics around the world, here and abroad, is natural disasters. For example, if a major flood in China were to happen, you could see where it could damage crops or infrastructure and make people homeless, and that could diminish the workforce. And China has a giant workforce, and as you can tell, a lot of stuff is produced in China. So say if a tidal wave hit Beijing, then you gotta think that's a bunch of workers who no longer have homes, who can't go to work, and that delays the production of goods. And in turn, those goods aren't being made and shipped to, say, America or wherever they're destined to be shipped to, which could lead to a shortage of things, whether that be bed frames, light bulbs, or whatever was being made at the time. And that can have a drastic effect to local communities who, say, depended on those items from China, or didn't produce those items themselves already, but imported them from a different country. And not only that, is it can have a toll on the workforce, which if you don't have a good, strong workforce, then you're not going to have the same amount of logistics going in to the matter. A third thing that can affect this is disease. As you can tell, with the corona pandemic, it made a lot of people sick and made it where they had to quarantine and stay at home, and this in turn made the workforce smaller, and less people in the workforce, the higher demand for items. And another prime example of that is back when the coronavirus first happened and everyone was quarantined, if you ever noticed, the price of gas dropped because less people were traveling, everyone was being quarantined, there was less traffic flow going through that, so you had less gas being used. And so since the demand of it went down, so the price of it went down. And these are just some of the things that can have an effect on the logistics of the world, and in turn can have an effect on our local communities due to international events. And that wraps it up. Thank you for listening.